Actor Michael Landon is dead after a battle with inoperable liver and pancreatic cancer. The 54-year-old star of TV's Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza died this afternoon at his home in Malibu, California.
Nearly 4 decades after Hollywood mourned Michael Landon's passing, a quiet storm has been building behind the scenes. One carried by the son who grew up watching a legend become larger than life. Now, at 61, he steps forward, not with nostalgia, but with a revelation heavy enough to rewrite everything fans thought they knew. His voice, steady yet weighted by years of silence, prepares to lift the veil on a secret long protected at last. So, what truth about Michael Landon is finally ready to be exposed? The shattered myth of America's perfect father. For decades, Michael Landon was revered as the quintessential image of the American father, a gentle, guiding figure whose on-screen presence brought warmth and comfort to families across the nation. Millions of viewers looked up to him as the embodiment of kindness, reliability, and moral integrity. On television, he navigated life's challenges with patience, wisdom, and unwavering care, earning a place in the hearts of audiences who believed every gesture, every word, and every smile reflected the man himself. Landon was more than an actor. He was a symbol, a comforting presence in countless living rooms, a figure people felt they truly knew. Behind the dazzling cameras and the bright glow of Hollywood, the reality was starkly different. To the world, Michael Landon appeared the devoted, unwavering father, the embodiment of charm and care. But for his son, Michael Landon Jr., the private truth told another story. Away from applause and spotlight, the father he adored could be distant, unpredictable, and sometimes absent without explanation. Moments of warmth flickered alongside unspoken tension, leaving a young boy confused and unsettled. The gentle, guiding figure adored on screens often vanished behind closed doors, replaced by a man whose moods shifted like shadows, an experience that etched lasting, complex impressions on Michael Jr.'s heart. For 40 long years, Michael Jr. carried a secret so profound, it contradicted everything the world thought it knew about his father. The truth he bore was heavy, silent, and isolating, a hidden narrative of a man who was adored by millions, yet known by few. It wasn't until decades later that he found the courage to speak out, to reveal the moment when the carefully constructed mask began to slip, and the myth started to crumble. One sentence, delivered quietly yet with aching clarity, pierced the veil of illusion that Hollywood had so meticulously maintained. It was a confession that opened the door to the hidden life of a man whose benign charm and fatherly image had concealed a far more complicated reality. That revelation became the key to understanding a life shadowed by secrecy, contradiction, and private heartbreak. It exposed a side of Michael Landon that audiences could never have imagined. A life filled with struggles, hidden vulnerabilities, and emotional complexities, all carefully tucked behind a smile that seemed, for so long, untouchable. In the eyes of the public, he remained a hero. In the eyes of his son, he was a man wrestling with his own humanity, one whose private truth would only be unveiled decades later. And it was that truth, finally spoken, that reshaped how the world could truly see the man behind the legend. Michael Landon is remembered by many as a kind, guiding presence on screen, a man who seemed to light the way for countless families. But did his real life match the image he showed the world? And what secrets lie behind the walls of his own family home? Now, let's uncover the hidden side of Michael Landon's family life. The cold halls behind Hollywood glamour. Behind the sparkling facade of the Landon family's glamorous Beverly Hills mansion, a world of quiet tension and unspoken sorrow quietly lingered. To the outside eye, the home gleamed with elegance. Gleaming furniture, vibrant artwork, and carefully staged family photos that radiated charm and happiness. Yet for young Michael Landon Jr., this perfection masked a far harsher reality. The polished rooms, though visually stunning, often felt cold and unwelcoming, their walls echoing with distance instead of laughter. Beneath the glittering surface of wealth and Hollywood allure, love and warmth were scarce, leaving a boy yearning for the connection that money could never buy. Michael Landon Jr. grew up in the shadow of a father whose presence was as unpredictable as it was fleeting. Family dinners were often fractured, arrivals delayed, conversations left unfinished, or sudden exits leaving a hollow quiet around the table. While the world adored his father's charm, his radiant smile, and his magnetic screen presence, Michael quietly observed a widening gap, a subtle detachment that no applause or award could mend. Ordinary moments of closeness, telling stories, sharing laughter, celebrating small victories, became rare treasures, slipping further away with each passing year, leaving longing where warmth should have lived. Whispers and rumors began circulating within the household long before they ever reached the tabloids. There were subtle signs of a secretive and complicated life. Unusual nights that didn't add up, unexplained absences, and glimpses of interactions with women on set that seemed too familiar. Even innocent smiles stiffened whenever his father's name was mentioned, hinting at tension lurking beneath the surface. Birthdays passed without celebration, and arguments were whispered behind closed doors, leaving the walls to silently bear witness to conversations no child should ever have to overhear. As the years passed, Michael Landon Jr. came to a painful understanding. The man celebrated by millions as the perfect father. The gentle, guiding figure who lit up television screens with charm and warmth was far more complicated behind closed doors. The charisma admired by fans often masked a father who was truly struggling to connect with his own children. To them, his presence could be distant, unpredictable, and at times disinterested, leaving gaps where love and guidance should have been. The home, meant to be a sanctuary of comfort and reassurance, instead carried tension, unease, and the quiet ache of emotional absence that lingered unspoken. As young Michael observed, the line between public adoration and private reality grew starker each year. Behind the cameras, behind the interviews, and behind the glamorous facade, the Landon household was a place where fame eclipsed family, and the legendary father everyone adored on screen became, in the eyes of his children, a man slowly losing connection with those who needed him most. What the world admired as charm and charisma, his children experienced as coldness and a widening distance. But was there more to Michael Landon's hidden darkness than anyone suspected? How deep did it go? And what secrets were carefully concealed from the public eye? Now, we delve into Michael Landon's dark descent. The Malibu Mansion of Secrets. After his divorce, Michael Landon's life underwent a shift that was both dramatic and unsettling, a transformation that seemed almost frightening to anyone who knew him closely. The bright, structured home he had once shared with his family in Beverly Hills, filled with laughter, family dinners, and the steady rhythm of domestic life, was replaced by a sprawling Malibu mansion that looked like a dream from the outside but hid a very different reality. Gone was the sense of warmth and order. In its place was a house pulsing with endless energy, chaos, and secrecy. The mansion became a stage for late-night gatherings and wild parties that seemed to stretch on until dawn. Smoke lingered in the air constantly, curling through hallways and filling every room with a dense haze that mirrored the uncertainty of the life unfolding within its walls. Delivery men arrived with unmarked packages, sometimes leaving them without a word. Cars would pull up in the dead of night, strange guests coming and going silently, their faces often hidden behind sunglasses or shadows. Music, sometimes loud and discordant, blasted at odd hours, filling the house with restless energy that never seemed to settle. Meanwhile, Hollywood whispered behind closed doors. Stories of Landon's growing addictions and reckless behavior began to circulate, though few dared speak too loudly. To young Michael Jr., these whispers became a chilling reality he could not escape. He watched in quiet, painful silence as the father he had once idolized slowly slipped away, replaced by a man consumed not by love, responsibility, or family, but by impulses that were dangerous and self-destructive. The figure adored by millions on television, the gentle, wise, guiding father of Little House on the Prairie, now seemed trapped in a private world of paranoia, fear, and erratic behavior. At times, Michael Landon appeared to be two people sharing a single body. One half smiled for the cameras, charming fans and colleagues with his signature warmth and charisma. The other half lived in shadows, consumed by doubt, drink, and compulsions that isolated him from everyone who cared about him. By day, he remained the celebrated star, the icon of American family values. Still, by night, the boy who lived in the mansion alongside him saw a man unravel, a legend gradually collapsing under the weight of secrets carefully hidden from the public eye. The Malibu mansion, with all its lights, music, and strangers, became a symbol of a life spiraling out of control. What should have been a sanctuary for healing and self-discovery instead became a labyrinth of chaos, where a beloved father and legendary actor was losing his grip. And the boy who had once looked up to him realized, painfully, that the hero he had adored on screen was quietly disappearing before his very eyes. Though Michael Landon was celebrated by the world, his son witnessed a legend collapsing under the weight of his secrets. But what happens when a much younger wife enters the picture? Does he soften and grow closer to his family? Or does he become a father they can barely approach? Let's find out. The Tyrant behind the camera. While millions of viewers saw Michael Landon as the gentle, warm-hearted pioneer guiding families through the trials of Little House on the Prairie, those working alongside him knew a far more complex and often intimidating man. Behind the camera, Landon's moods were mercurial, unpredictable, and sometimes downright frightening. Cast and crew quickly learned that every interaction, every word, and even every glance could shift the atmosphere on set. One moment, he would be laughing heartily, sharing jokes with the young actors, embracing children on set, and radiating the image of the kind, devoted father everyone admired on screen. Yet, in a heartbeat, the same man could transform into a tempest. Doors would bang with startling force, sharp words cut through the air, and he would storm off set, leaving behind a heavy tension that seemed to cling to every corner. Even the smallest mistake, the slightest shift from his carefully laid plan, could spark an eruption that froze crew members in place and had actors tiptoeing as if on fragile glass. The atmosphere swung wildly, one moment filled with laughter and easy camaraderie, the next with dread and unease, unpredictable as a lightning storm. The presence of Cindy Clerico, a young, strikingly beautiful woman, intensified this tension. As Landon's constant companion, her role shifted the dynamics further. Loyalty became the most valuable currency on set. Those around Landon quickly realized that survival depended on knowing exactly what to say, how to stand, and when to remain silent. Even casual conversations were measured carefully. A wrong word, an ill-timed gesture, could provoke his anger. Cindy's influence, though subtle, underscored the hierarchy. Proximity to him afforded protection, while missteps brought scrutiny and sometimes intimidation. Smiles became stiff, and voices dropped to whispers. Away from the glare of cameras and behind the trailers, the crew learned to tread carefully, speaking softly to save energy and avoid Landon's sharp disapproval. The lessons were harsh, yet unmistakable. Two worlds existed in his realm. On screen, he dazzled millions, radiating warmth, faith, and devotion to family. Off camera, however, a shadow loomed. Fear, rigid control, and silent rules dictated every move. Every gesture, every word had to be measured, or consequences followed quietly but unmistakably. In this hidden world, the true cost of fame became apparent. Cast and crew lived in constant tension, balancing admiration for the man who created their world with wariness of the volatility he carried into every scene. The set of Little House on the Prairie became a microcosm of Landon's dual life, a place where magic was performed for the cameras, but survival demanded caution, discretion, and a careful navigation of a temper as unpredictable as the winds of the prairie he so famously depicted. Landon was seen as a tyrant, especially with his young wife Cindy by his side, making it nearly impossible for his family to get close. But how did he handle the pressures of fame and political influence? And does anything ever humble him? Let's uncover the details. Fame, power, and the hidden struggles. As Michael Landon's fame skyrocketed, his life seemed to glitter with the brilliance of Hollywood's most enviable lights. Endorsements flowed effortlessly, political figures sought his presence, and his image was carefully curated to embody the ideals of the perfect American father. Every handshake with a governor, every speech at a charity gala, and every interview he gave was executed with precision, a performance so flawless that the public could hardly believe it belonged to a real person. To the world, he was untouchable, a moral compass in a glittering, often chaotic, industry. But behind the impeccable suits and dazzling smiles, another reality quietly unfurled, one that few would ever see. The home life, the intimate space where love and connection were meant to flourish, was quietly crumbling. His children watched in silence as the man who appeared as a beacon of integrity on television became distant, distracted, and emotionally unavailable in the spaces where it mattered most. The warmth that audiences associated with his on-screen persona was often replaced by absence, tension, and the heavy shadow of unmet expectations. By the time illness arrived, the divide between the man the world celebrated and the father at home was heartbreakingly clear. To millions, he was a symbol of virtue, faith, and family. A beloved hero whose smile and presence inspired admiration. Yet behind closed doors, a quieter, deeper sorrow had lingered for years. His children mourned a father who was there in pieces, whose affection, though genuine, was often eclipsed by ambition, distractions, and the constant pressure to uphold a flawless public image. Love existed, but it came wrapped in absence, longing, and unspoken regrets. Decades after his father's passing, Michael Landon Jr. finally broke his long-held silence, revealing a truth he had guarded for 40 years. His voice, a mixture of sorrow, clarity, and quiet strength, painted a picture far removed from the flawless hero the world admired. He spoke of a man torn between two lives, the public icon radiating warmth and guidance, and the private figure wrestling with shadows no audience could see. "My father chased light, yet lived in darkness," he confessed, capturing the haunting duality of a life celebrated by millions, yet truly understood by only a few. Those words, simple yet devastating, pierced through the veneer of celebrity and fame, exposing the human struggles behind the legend. In that revelation, the illusion of perfection that Hollywood and the world had embraced for so long was shattered completely. Michael Landon was more than the symbol of wholesome family entertainment. He was a man wrestling with his own contradictions, a father whose brilliance on screen contrasted with the quiet, often heartbreaking truth of life behind closed doors. While outsiders saw Michael Landon's illness as the darkest phase of his life, his son witnessed an even deeper darkness beyond the disease. But what were his final moments truly like? And what emotional truths did he reveal at the edge of death? Now, let's dive into Michael Landon's last moments. The final moments, a private goodbye. At 54, Michael Landon's life took a harrowing turn with a diagnosis that would forever change the course of his family and legacy. Pancreatic cancer, a relentless and unforgiving disease, became the shadow looming over the man who had long been celebrated as the embodiment of American fatherhood, a figure whose charm, warmth, and charisma had filled living rooms across the nation. Despite the public adoration and the accolades that had followed him for decades, this diagnosis was unflinching, exposing the vulnerability that even fame could not mask. Just 3 months after bravely revealing his illness to the world, on July 1st, 1991, Michael Landon passed away. His home in Malibu, a place that had witnessed both triumph and turbulence, became the backdrop for a quiet, intimate farewell. At the time, he lived with his third wife, Cindy, and 2 of their young children, the youngest, Sean, still a toddler, unaware of the permanence of the moment unfolding around him. In those final hours, Michael did something deeply human, something that would remain a testament to his love and the careful protection of his family. He gathered all his children in his home, creating a circle of presence and care. Yet he sought to shield one private, tender connection from the gaze of even his own children. His voice, soft but filled with warmth, carried a simple request. "I love you all very much, but would you all go downstairs and give me some time with Cindy?" It was in that fleeting, intimate moment that the man behind the public persona, the iconic father figure, the Hollywood legend, revealed his truest self. Here was a man, stripped of lights, cameras, and audience expectations, who wanted only a private farewell with the woman he loved, preserving a fragment of intimacy in the midst of farewell. It was a quiet assertion of agency, a reminder that no matter the fame, the title, or the millions who adored him, the most profound connections remain deeply personal. Even in the final hours of his life, Michael Landon remained a striking contradiction. The beloved television father adored by millions, yet also a private, deeply caring husband and parent. Away from cameras, lights, and applause, he sought only intimacy and closeness with those he loved most. His last moments were quiet, personal, and profoundly human. A gentle request for privacy, a soft whisper of love to his children, and a precious chance to hold his family close, protecting what truly mattered above all else. That hushed, final farewell reveals one of the most touching truths of Michael Landon's life, offering a rare glimpse behind the polished mask of fame. For decades, the world admired a flawless celebrity, yet behind the cameras and flashing lights, a deeply human man existed, flawed, tender, and quietly vulnerable. In that private request for a few moments with his wife, his true self emerged. A reminder that even legends, long celebrated for seeming perfection, carry hearts capable of love, gentle affection, and moments of serene, profound humanity. So, what do you think of Michael Landon's son confession? Could Michael have connected better with his family? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.